Alright, my name is Ustaz Mizi Wahid. Hi, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Welcome back to another episode of Asatizah Cooks. And today I'm gonna do a dessert. Inshallah, I'm gonna do a dessert for you. It's called the Creme Brulee. Some of you may know this dessert. It's a very simple dish to do. And to be honest, this is the first time in a long time that I've really felt extremely nervous in front of a camera because I actually have to cook instead of just speak. So wish me the best. Okay. So for a start, what I'm going to show with you are all the ingredients that I'll be using. First of all, I'll be using full cream milk that is about 35% fat. And then I have, this is about 320 ml. And then I have vanilla essence. This is artificial vanilla essence, and this is about 1.5 teaspoon. And I've got some eggs here. We are going to need 60 grams of egg yolk, specifically the egg yolk, which we're going to weigh later on. And then we have about 50 grams of fine sugar, inshallah. Okay. So what we're going to do right now is that we're going to start with mixing the egg yolks with the sugar. And so this begins the first step. I'm going to switch on the mini weighing scale, and I'm going to put the egg yolks in. And make sure that you only get the egg yolk and leave the egg whites out. Personally, I'm actually someone who doesn't eat egg yolk, to be honest. That's one of the unique things about me. I've never liked egg yolk since I was young, but if it's mixed inside something like a dessert like this, I'll just eat it. Okay, so I think we're just going to need one more. It's now at 40 grams. We need 60 grams of egg yolk in order to make this dessert. If you want to look at it, we have about 55 grams, and that should be enough for us to proceed with this dish. So now for the next part, I'm going to mix the sugar. So this is 50 grams of fine sugar that we're going to mix together into with the eggs. We're going to transfer it here. So now we're going to use this at a particular speed. So right now the color of the yolk is of course extremely yellow. The aim is for us to get it to a color that is a bit more pale, that's like light yellow. Okay, so that's the aim. So we're going to keep doing this for a few minutes. So I used to be a student in Madrasah Al-Junaid Islamiyah in Singapore. I studied there since primary 1. So for 12 years I was in the same madrasah. Alhamdulillah. Primary, secondary and pre-university. And then I went to Malaysia for about 3 years to do my diploma in Islamic studies in Sharia Islamiyah. And then I finished my degree in Al-Azhar, graduated in 2006. Since 2009, I've started Safina Institute, which is now already 11 years old, Alhamdulillah. So Safina Institute conducts Islamic classes in English, mainly targeting young adults. Yeah, now with all that's happening right now, we are even more active online. So you guys can check us out on Instagram, Safina Institute. Yeah. So I think during this circuit breaker period, what I think a lot of us may have started to realize is that there is a huge blessing, to be honest, because we are now having a lot more time with our family. So what I've noticed is that I think a lot of us, we've always been so busy, being especially in Singapore, we're always so occupied with our work, and we have very little time at home. We spend very little time with our children. We leave home in the morning when they go to school, and then when we come back, they're already so tired, we're exhausted, and we have very little time to engage and have quality discussions and play time with them. But now I have 4 little kids at home, and I noticed that we have more time for each other now, to talk to each other, to play games, to read books together, and pray together. I think Ramadan is a great time for us to also get them close to the Quran, to memorize new surahs, to learn new du'as, and to pray more Jama'ah prayers. Okay, so now the color is a lot more paler than earlier. So this looks about right for now, inshallah. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to leave it there for now. And then now we are going to mix, we're going to heat up the milk, okay? And mix it with some vanilla essence. And so here's 320 ml of full cream. And here's the 1.5 teaspoon of vanilla essence. So we're just gonna mix it a little bit, the vanilla essence and the milk. So what we are looking for is for some bubbles to start to show at the sides, okay? That's a sign that it's heated just about right. We don't want it to be too hot, or else when we mix it with the rest of the ingredients, it's going to change the texture of the custard that we're trying to create. So the first part of making a creme brulee is actually the custard, and that's the main part of it, the gist of it. And then later we're going to close by creating a layer of caramelized topping on top. How often do I cook? I think as of late, since we actually have a helper at home, I've not been cooking enough. But I remember at the time when it was early days into the marriage, I was actually cooking quite often. For my standard, quite often is once a week. Once a week is pretty a lot. Yeah. So I used to cook a lot as a student. Right, we were all studying overseas. We had a roster. We would take turns. All of my housemates, we would take turns to cook. And I remembered my mom would send me a lot of all this. What do you call it? Pre-made kind of ingredients that you just need to mix it up with chicken, and then it's done. You mix it up with some fish, and it's done. And so that's how I cheated my way through cooking in those days. So now I'm just preparing this, because in a short while we are going to pour the mix inside before we put them in the oven for them to be baked. There you can see the bubbles starting to show at the side. That's good enough, so you can switch off the fire. Okay, I need to pour this here. The reason why I don't pour it directly is because I need to pour them bit by bit. I can't put them in all at once. Because the milk is still hot, and what's going to happen when it's hot is that it may cook the egg that's inside here. We don't want the egg to be cooked, as we are not trying to make an omelette. So, so I'm going to switch this on. What I'm going to do is I'm going to pour this hot mixture of milk and vanilla in slowly and gradually. Okay. I'm going to pause for a while. We don't want it to develop into small chunks. We want the consistency in the mix to remain fluid. I'm gonna pour a bit more. Yeah. So guys, right now I think it's a great time. Right now we are seeing so many Asatizah putting up content online. We have this SalamSG TV. This is really the time for us to seize all the opportunities that we have now to learn as a family or to learn individually. You can sign up for so many webinars that are happening right now. So many Asatizahs doing Facebook Live, Instagram Live. If you've been complaining that all this while you don't know where to go, or you don't know how to access content by our local Asatizah, now I think we're spoiled for choice, because there are really just too many out there that we can choose from. So you want them in English, you have them. You want them in Malay, you have them. You want the free ones, you have them as well. If you want the more structured programs with modules, with materials, you can also sign up for courses like that too. So really, we have a lot of options today. Okay, just make sure it's the case. So now what we're going to do is we are going to pour this mixture inside the aluminum containers here that we've set. I would normally go for 3/4 filling. Sometimes the bubbles may make it look like it's a lot, but maybe it's not. So 3/4 is nice. Okay, so when you put them in the oven, right, it should be about 30 to 40 minutes only at 150 degrees. 30 to 40 minutes at 150 degrees. Usually if it's deeper, there's more depth in this container, you need 40 minutes, but usually half an hour is just nice. Okay. The good practice in doing this is to actually pour hot water on the surface of this tray. The reason you do this until it fills up is so that the aluminum does not stick to the tray after you remove it from the oven. Okay, so make sure the water does not go inside the mix, it just remains on the tray. So when you usually it's best if you do this after you've placed the tray in the oven, but for showcase purposes I'm doing it here so that you can see. Okay, so hot water so that the aluminum does not stick onto the tray after 30 minutes. It's done, alhamdulillah. It's been baked for 30 minutes and this is how it should roughly look like. And one of the ways to tell that it's done is when you wiggle it, you can see that it's it's jiggling like that. That's a sign that it's nice and ready. Okay, that's the custard that's ready. All right, so we have 4 here. So the next step is to actually put on some sugar. Okay, so now the next thing that you need to do is to put in 1 tablespoon of fine sugar on top of each creme brulee that you've done, each custard that you've done, and you want to spread it out nicely and evenly so there's a nice amount, okay, of sugar. So what you do next is you can lift this up and you can again try to spread it evenly as much as you can. For some of you, you may not want that much sugar, you can put slightly less, but it needs to still spread or else it will not work. Okay, yeah, I think let's not worry too much, let's not complain too much about all that's happening right now. I'm pretty sure that it's a huge blessing, and I know that at the end of the day, right, when all this is over, we can look back and say that we were part of history. We lived through the time when Ramadan happened and all the mosques were closed, you know. We can look back and tell this story to our children, our grandchildren, and they're gonna have a hard time believing, but it actually happened. And so if you look at it, maybe there are certain lessons that we're supposed to learn from all of these events. As unfortunate as it is, yes, a lot of people were affected and many people unfortunately have passed on as a result of this virus, but perhaps there is a bigger lesson that all of us can take away as well. And let's always be mindful of what we can learn from every unfortunate episode that happens in our life. Okay, so now we're going to use the blowtorch and we're going to just try to keep the fire low, but just about enough to ensure that it caramelizes and it turns brown. Okay. Yeah, you can see it caramelizing, and the crew here can start to smell. So you want it to be just about enough. Bismillah. Another one. Okay, so you want to be able to see that the sugar is caramelizing slowly. What we should aim for when we're doing a creme brulee is to aim for that glass crackling sound. When you knock on it, you can hear the glass sound, and when you break it, it breaks nicely. So that's the aim when you're doing a creme brulee. So if you like yours to be a bit more charred, so you put on the fire a bit harder, a bit stronger. Or you can do it a bit lower like this, lower heat, and gradually increase it later on. Yeah. Don't spend too much time on one spot, or else you will burn it a bit too much. Okay, so for some garnishing, we're gonna put mint leaves. In Arabic, we call this na'na. In Egypt, we used to love to drink shai bin na'na, which is mint tea. I think this is a great, simple dish to do. It can take you 15 minutes, 20 minutes to finish, and the whole family can enjoy it for iftar this Ramadan. So I hope this little sharing is beneficial for you guys to try at home. And hopefully you also gain a little bit of benefit from whatever it is I was able to share from today's video. Thank you so much for joining me, Ustaz Mizi Wahid. Till we meet again, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.